Yo, what's good, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson, BamaInsider.com. Thank you for joining me. Tuesday, June 4th. I hope you are off to a good week. I know I am. Thanks for being here right here on the Talk of Champions on BamaInsider.com. Today on the show, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm talking Alabama and Clemson, early lines against opponents on their schedule. You won't believe the lines on some of these games. And there's an interesting matchup because Alabama plays Texas A&M, and so does Clemson. Who has the larger line? We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. We're also going to talk about potential record breakers as we close out our 19 for 19. What's 19 for 19? We've been asking 19 hard-hitting questions through these early summer days to pass the time. Today we are talking about which Alabama players can break records during the 2019 season. We'll discuss that right here on the program. Tua Tagovailoa has an opportunity to shatter some records this coming year for the Alabama Crimson Tide, as does Alabama receiver Jerry Jeudy. Those are no surprises. But we will talk about those, and we'll talk about a couple of other items today on the Talk of Champions. What I wanted to get to first was the Golden Nugget out in Vegas. And you know Vegas, they rarely lose, right? Here are some early lines on these games that they have presented in Vegas. All right, so this is looking at Alabama's schedule, and this is the point total favorite that Alabama is favored by against these opponents on the 2019 schedule. Against South Carolina, Alabama is an 18-point favorite, right? Last year, the Gamecocks were 7-6 on the season. Will Muschamp, who is under Saban's coaching tree, is 22-17 under 3 seasons. South Carolina returns 7 on offense, 5 on defense. The last 3 meetings between these two teams, 2010 was the last time they played, and guess what? South Carolina defeated Alabama 35-21 in Columbia. So the last time that these two teams met was in Columbia, and South Carolina rolled to a victory. Before that, they played in 2009 and in 2005, Alabama winning both of those games. 18-point favorite this year for the Crimson Tide. Check this out. Against Ole Miss, 34-point favorite. Alabama is a 34-point favorite. I mean, you look at that and you're like, man, I'm not touching that, right? If you're betting on the game. But then again, look at the last 3 meetings between the two teams. Last season, Alabama rolled 62-7. That was that game in Oxford. Remember, Ole Miss scored that opening touchdown and 62 straight points from the Crimson Tide. The year before that, at Bryant-Denny Stadium, 66-3. 66-3. So the last 2 meetings have been ugly. I mean, you look at what Matt Luke has returning. He's 11-13 over the last 2 seasons, only 3 on offense, 8 on defense. They lose all those talented receivers. I don't know. I mean, Matt Corral, yeah, he's a good quarterback, but geez, going up against the Crimson Tide at Bryant-Denny, I don't know. I mean, 34, you might be taking that if you're a betting man. All right, now against Texas A&M, which I feel is going to be Alabama's most challenging game for the 2019 regular season, just the regular season, the games that are on the schedule already. Alabama opens as a 14-point favorite. Now, as we look at the last 3 meetings between these two teams, Alabama defeated Texas A&M last year at Bryant-Denny, 45-23. The year before that in College Station, 27-19. Jimbo Fisher, 9-4 in his first season. This is his second season. He's got a lot of players coming back, and the notable guy at the quarterback position is Kellen Mond. 3,100 yards last year, 24 touchdowns. On defense, they don't return as many. But I think under Jimbo, another guy under Saban's coaching tree, right, you got to think he plays him well. But then, again, we thought Jimbo was going to play Saban well a couple years ago in that opener when Alabama and Florida State met in that top 5 opener, and Alabama pretty much processed them. I mean, Florida State's where's their program gone since Alabama played them? Right? All right. Moving along. Tennessee, who I feel is going to be a much improved team under Jeremy Pruitt. I think towards the end of the 2018 season, we saw a lot of improvement from Pruitt's Volunteers. I mean, they returned 8 on offense, 7 on defense. Last season, Alabama rolled into Knoxville 58-21 in front of a great atmosphere, I must say. But Vegas still liking Alabama as the heavy favorite, 31-point favorite against Tennessee early on. I don't know if I like that one. I mean, that's a big spread early on against Tennessee. Now, I do feel that Alabama will win that game handily, but by 31 points, man, that seems like a lot. Okay, against LSU, who I have as Alabama's second toughest opponent for the 2019 regular schedule, 16-point favorite. LSU returned 7 on offense, 8 on defense. Remember Joe Burrow last year? He had a tough time against the Crimson Tide. And Tua, I mean, he blazed out in Death Valley. 25 of 42 last year, 295 yards with 2 touchdowns. Alabama's won the last 8 meetings. 2018, Alabama won 29-0. 2017, Alabama won 24-10. 2016, Alabama defeated LSU 10-0. All right, next up, Mississippi State, who was amazing last year on defense. Alabama opens up as a 20-point favorite. This game is going to be in Stark Vegas. Now, I have to say about Stark Vegas, I think I've said it on the show before, Stark Vegas is electric. If you go to a game out in Starkville, it's awesome, right? The tailgate goes for miles. They got the cowbells. It's a tough atmosphere. A couple years ago in 2017, I thought Mississippi State had Alabama. I mean, they had them on the ropes there for a little bit. At the end of the game, Alabama survived 31-24. Last season, Alabama defeated Mississippi State 24-0. That was a tough game for the Crimson Tide, though. Mississippi State's defense was exceptional, as I said. Alabama has brought 2 assistants over from Mississippi State, Charles Huff, who's going to coach the running backs, and Brian Baker, who's coaching the defensive line. So you get an understanding of the respect that Saban has for Mississippi State's coaching staff from last season. Now, Alabama plays Auburn on November 30th. They open up as a 13-point favorite. Now, remember last season, Alabama won 52-21 in Tuscaloosa, but the last time that the Crimson Tide went down to Auburn, it was Auburn who came out victorious, 26-14. They returned a very good defense, and that was really the catalyst why Auburn won in 2017. That defensive front shut down Alabama. I have never seen Alabama be manhandled. Well, I've seen them be manhandled twice. That was in the national title game this past January, and then against Auburn. Auburn's defensive line completely dominated Alabama across the board. Now, we've talked about Alabama's new offensive line returning for the 2019 season, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the show. But I think, this offensive line coming in to the 2019 is going to have their hands full at season's end because Auburn returns an incredible defensive front. So let's take a look at Clemson and their opponents and how Vegas feels they'll fare against their competition. Now, everyone likes to say that Clemson doesn't play a tough schedule. I'm one of those guys. A lot of people could say that about Alabama. I'm one of those guys. I don't like the front end of Alabama's schedule. But here's what the Golden Nugget says about Clemson's schedule. Clemson obviously going to be the number 1 team going into the 2019 season. Against Texas A&M, they are a 17.5-point favorite. I mean, Alabama's favored by 14. Texas A&M, Clemson is favored by 17.5. Then again, Syracuse, who the last couple of years they've struggled with, opened up as an 18-point favorite against North Carolina, 27-point favorite. Against Florida State, check this out, 25-point favorite. And that's the most Clemson has been favored over Florida State ever. Against Louisville, 32-point favorite. Against NC State, 24-point favorite. And against South Carolina, their rivalry game towards the end of the season, they are a 23.5-point favorite. So similar lines. I mean, I think Alabama, when you look at the games against Mississippi State and against Tennessee, against Mississippi State, as I said earlier, 34-point favorite, and against Tennessee, 31-point favorite. And we don't have lines yet on Duke, who they open with. Alabama opens with. That's going to be a large spread. What do you think? 3 touchdowns? Then they play New Mexico State. That's got to be 30, maybe 40-point favorite. Then they take on Southern Miss, and we also don't have a line for the Arkansas game. So those got to be sky high as well. So I don't know if Alabama's front end is very challenging. As we talked about, the toughest part of their schedule will be at season's end when they have LSU come to town, when they make a trip to Stark Vegas, and when they do make a trip to Auburn. What do you think? Sound off in the comment box. Do you feel that any of these games will be tougher than Vegas thinks? I don't know. Maybe Vegas is right on the money like they usually are. Hey, thanks for following us today. My name is Kyle Henderson at BamaInsider.com. College students, if you're out there, hit me up for the college promo, Kyle at BamaInsider.com. Everyone else who has a job and is, grinding it out, you can still get 30 days for free. Go to BamaInsider.com. When you go to sign up to get behind the premium paywall, the promo code at sign up is simply Roll Tide. Now let's talk about some record breakers for the 2019 or potential record breakers. Tony Tsoukalis, our team writer, has a story running right now on our homepage, BamaInsider.com. And it's pretty much Tua. I mean, you look at the season that he put up last year, it was crazy, right? I mean, throwing for, over 4,000 yards, over 30 touchdowns. I mean, it was an incredible season, one to remember. Could this year be even more memorable for one of the highest praised quarterbacks in the history of the Alabama Crimson Tide football program? And let's look at career passing yards. Now, the current holder is A.J. McCarron. He has 9,019 yards. That's career passing yards. Where Tua stands, 4,600 yards. All right, so the outlook, and this is from Tsoukalis' article today. This would be a nice feather for Tagovailoa to add to his hat before his likely departure to the NFL next season. Last season, Tagovailoa set an Alabama single-season passing record, throwing for just shy of 4,000 yards. He'll need to throw for 4,400 yards this season to match McCarron's record. Well, that's a big jump. Tagovailoa doesn't have Jalen Hurts to share reps with, so you got to think that Tagovailoa is going to get more PT. But then again, against that schedule, as we talked about, can he really throw for 4,400 yards this season? I don't know. That's a big jump. Career passing touchdowns. A.J. McCarron currently has 77 touchdowns, and he's the number one leader at Alabama. Tagovailoa has 54 touchdowns. Another excerpt from Tsoukalis. This is another prestigious milestone on Tagovailoa's road to becoming the top quarterback in school history. It also seems very obtainable. After passing for a school record 43 touchdowns last season, Tagovailoa needs only 23 to match McCarron's mark. I think certainly fly by that. I mean, only 23 to break it? Yeah. I mean, you look at what he did last season, 43 touchdowns. Yeah, he's going to break that. So we can definitely pencil him in there. Career total yards. Current holder, A.J. McCarron again, 8,969 total yards. Where Tagovailoa stands, 4,900 yards in total offense. Now, I think Tua should be able to roll past this, right? Another excerpt from Tsoukalis. This is where Tagovailoa can really set himself apart from the Alabama quarterbacks. And like some of the pure pocket passers that currently are ahead of him on the list, Tagovailoa's dual threat ability allows him to pick up more yards through the air and with his feet. And I think that's an important note regarding Tua, is the fact that he is a dual threat quarterback. He has a lot of speed. A lot of people coming into last season, they didn't understand the type of athlete that Tua is. But you saw him. I mean, think of the big runs that he had last year. And I'm thinking about the run right now where he busted out against LSU. And that he wasn't even healthy at that point, right? But he has a ton of escapability. He can see the field. He can get downfield using his legs. So I think career total yardage, he can definitely break that record as well. Career total touchdowns. A.J. McCarron has 80 touchdowns. Tagovailoa already has 61. Yeah, he's definitely going to break that. I mean, if he's going to throw for 30 or 40 touchdowns, yeah, he'll break that as well. I mean, only needs 19 touchdowns this season. You got to think that he leaves Alabama with the career total touchdown record. Single game passing yards. Now, check this out. The record holder is Scott Hunter, who threw for 484 yards in 1969 against Auburn. Tagovailoa's best showing is 387 passing yards. That was in 2018 against Texas A&M. 484 yards. I don't know. I'm not sure that Nick Saban's going to allow Tua to throw for nearly 500 yards on anybody. So I'm going to skip that for the single game passing yards. Single game total yards. Blake Sims had 484 yards against Florida in 2014. Tagovailoa's best game where he had the most total yards, 397 against Texas A&M last season. I don't know. Again, 500 yards of offense. You got to think that he would have to throw for 400 yards through the air and 100 yards on the ground. I mean, I'll go for, yeah, he'll break that just because he's such a dynamic player. And I could see Alabama getting in some sort of a shootout later on in the season to where Tua has to absolutely ball out and plays 4 quarters. But a lot of this is tough to gauge because Tua didn't really have to play 4 quarters at all last season. So if he can play 4 quarters, I mean, who knows what he's capable of record-wise? Because if you give Tua that amount of time, enough snaps, I mean, he's going to pick you apart, and he's going to shatter some of these records. Now, we look at Jerry Jeudy for career receiving touchdowns. Currently, Amari Cooper has 31. Jerry Jeudy has 16. Now, Judy's another pick, another future NFL draft pick that people have going in the top 5. So Amari Cooper has 31. Jerry Jeudy has 16. You got to think that he could break that, right? I mean, this year, he has a great chance to break it. He was the Biletnikoff winner last season. The problem is with this record is that there's so many mouths to feed. You got Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. You got, John Mechie rising up. So are we going to see all these receivers get fed 10 touchdowns, or are we going to see, a receiver like Jerry Jeudy catch a majority of the touchdowns? That's hard to say. I don't know if he's going to break Amari Cooper's record of 31 career receiving touchdowns. That's a tough one, but I think it's going to be very close. What do you think in the comment box? Record-wise, do you think Tua has an opportunity to shatter most of these records? I think the simple answer is yes. I mean, and what him and Jerry Jeudy have done combo-wise will probably never be done again in the history of Alabama football. That's what we're watching. You are watching greatness when you watch the Alabama Crimson Tide football team. Now, I also wanted to talk about an article that I wrote a couple days ago, and this is titled, "Will Alabama's Mammoth Offensive Line Roll Over College Football?" All right, their offensive line every year is massive. This year, once again, Alabama has an offensive line that is gigantic, okay? Now, the average height and weight for Alabama is 6'5", 320 pounds. Here are the offensive starters, projected starters, going into the summer season. Alex Leatherwood, left tackle, 6'6", 310 pounds. Emil Ekiyor at left guard, 6'3", 338 pounds. Chris Owens at center, 6'3", 315 pounds. Matt Womack at right guard, 6'7", 325 pounds. Jedrick Wills, right tackle, 6'5", 316 pounds. Now, if Alabama was to slide in Evan Neal at that left guard position over Emil Ekiyor, Evan Neal, who everyone loves, I'm so excited to see him play this year. 6'7", 360 pounds. That bumps up Alabama's entire group significantly. So the offensive line, how do they stack up? And I added the Dallas Cowboys, who have a massive offensive line, and I added the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? So to rewind, Alabama's average height, 6'5", Alabama's average weight up front, 320. Dallas Cowboys, average height, 6'4", average weight, 314. Philadelphia Eagles, the exact same as the Cowboys, ironically, 6'4", 314. Now, I also brought up Clemson's offensive line and Georgia's offensive line. Clemson, 6'4", 321. So per pound, they have just 1 pound in Alabama, but 1 inch shy, average-wise. Now, Georgia's offensive line is gigantic. 6'5", 330-pound average. And that is a healthy group for the Georgia Bulldogs. And they got the running backs. I mean, Kirby Smart, he's got the guys, He's you got to think that, they're going to be scratching to the top at the end of the season. So you can read all that coverage back at BamaInsider.com. You got a ton of recruiting articles as well. Andrew Bone has really been turning out a lot with recruits being in Tuscaloosa over this last weekend. So go to BamaInsider.com and catch up on all the latest recruiting information. You can follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. Just look for Bama Insider. My name is Kyle Henderson, managing editor. Do a lot on YouTube, do a lot on BamaInsider.com. I really enjoy what I do, so I hope you can come over to BamaInsider.com and give us some opportunity to become a premium subscriber. We would appreciate the opportunity to earn your business. My email is kyle@BamaInsider.com. College students, again, hit me up for that college promo code. And if you want to get behind the paywall and you're not a college student, you can still get 30 days free at checkout. The promo code is simply Roll Tide. I hope you have a great day, everyone. You can catch me back on the website. Be good people, as I always say at the end of the show. And you know where you can find me, in beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Until next time, my friends, this is the Talk of Champions right here on BamaInsider.com.